Hey, welcome back to the Small Business Mindset. As we are getting to wrap up the first quarter of 2026, I think now is no better time than any to talk about how are your goals going? Did you hopefully put some goals together for this year? And are you tracking them? But the conversation today, I want to center around the 5 habits that will stunt your business growth and why you need to really stop doing them. So let's get started. Number one, I think it's very common for business owners, especially small business owners, because a lot of times we are a one person shop or we have small teams about us. We don't always pay attention to those details. We just kind of put our head down and we go. And we're like, okay, we're not losing money, but are we making the money and are we growing like we anticipated? It's also very common for small business owners not to pay themselves really what they anticipated they like to earn because they're trying to keep the company afloat to get it past that 3 year mark or 5 year mark and like, okay, we've made it. We're over the hump. Now we can scale. But I'm going to talk about some habits that I bet you already do. I've been there too, that are going to stunt your growth. And really, I want to turn the table. I want you to maximize your growth. So here, let's get started. I'm going to ask you a question. Number one habit that I see all too common, not knowing who your top clients are. Now, if you're just getting started in business, meaning you don't have any clients yet, I hope you got into business putting together a business plan and identifying who is the target market. And then I hope you took it one step further. And if you haven't done this yet, even current business owners can do this because it's a free service. Contact your local small business development center. They're all over the country and they're a free service. And I bet there's one in a town near you. You probably reach out to them electronically and have a virtual call if you can't physically visit their office. They have all of these amazing resources at their fingertips where they can actually run reports based on the type of business you are and identify the opportunity within your market. So, for example, let's say you sell apple pies and you make pastries and you want to open a pastry shop. The Small Business Development Center can run a report that shows the velocity for the demand of pastry shops in your market. It'll also show your competitors. It's like how much market share is available and who's buying this stuff and how much are they buying every year. That's some really, really good data to have. For those of you already in business, and I get this response all the time, like, how's your business? Well, we did 5 million in sales last year. We'll probably do about the same. Okay, probably is kind of iffy. What is your plan to get there? I know in my real estate career, I did this exercise with myself. I actually do it on an annual basis, but I did it for the first time a number of years ago, and it actually surprised me. Who I thought were my best client were actually maybe my most transactions from a client, but as far as sales volume was something completely different. Now, that might vary year to year, and you might track it differently. So, is it important to you? Are your top clients identified as those that bring you the most money and a revenue? Maybe. Are your top clients those that do the most transactions with you, but maybe not the highest sales volume? I don't know. I mean, it depends on how you're structured and what are you selling? What are you going after? You need to define that. Second habit I see that can stunt your business growth. If you look at those top clients again, you don't know what their needs are. So business shifts all the time and we have to be nimble. But if you understand if one of your best clients is retiring, and going to be retiring in the next year or passing the business off or selling the business or changing the way they do business. I don't know. That's something that probably would be good to know because if they're your top client and you're relying on them for a good portion of your annual revenues and they disappear, then what happens? In addition to that, understanding what their needs are they changing? Are they changing how they do business? And how can you be a part of that with them? Can you offer value or service or a product that changes with them? So how do you do this? If you're not first of all, understanding who your top clients are, and second of all, understanding what their needs are, how do you do this? Well, here's what you do. You reach out and you ask them. You invite them to a coffee or a lunch or a meeting or a game of golf. You're like, how's business? Tell me, how can we be helpful? So you ask them, several questions to understand what they're after, what their goals are just as important as what your goals are for your company, because you need to be a part of that if you want to. Because if you don't, you're going to stunt your growth. Next habit that, hopefully won't stunt your growth. Assuming that the economy will automatically impact your bottom line. Now, I see that a lot. Economies go up, economies go down, pandemics happen, all these things different happen. We see inflation, we see interest rates change, we see all the kinds of things happen. So you can do one thing, you can stick your head in the sand and think, well, nothing's going to impact us. Or conversely, you can have just the opposite effect and saying the economy is absolutely going to affect us. I hope you're someplace in the middle. I hope you are prepared for economic changes. And how do you overcome that? I don't want you to walk into a year and thinking, well, interest rates still aren't coming down, or inflation's still high. I mean, we're going to have a down year. Don't automatically assume that. This is where understanding the data in your industry and understanding where your specific goals are, how can you maximize on those type of opportunities? I guarantee you, even in a down economy, and I'm using air quotes here because down economy might look different for different types of industries. For example, I'm in real estate and I am a market specialist, not a product type specialist. So what that means, I work in smaller markets, which means I work with people that are acquiring, disposing of office, industrial, retail, development, multifamily. I work on a whole host of different types of product lines. So when one of them is maybe softer, the other one is flourishing. So understanding those dynamics and needs will help you keep your business alive and thriving. So that way you can shift with those economic needs. The one thing I always tell my team is that every economic shift is an opportunity. Because when things shift, our needs shift and our priorities shift. So how do you shift along with them? So let me go back to my example of you make apple pies and you're a pastry shop owner, right? Okay, maybe people aren't coming in and ordering a slice of pie and sitting down and having a cup of coffee with their friends or something like that. Maybe you need to shift for, okay, do you have a pickup business? Do you have a custom order business? Can you offer, smaller serving sizes, for different types of quantities? What makes sense for you that can keep your sales coming in? It's just getting a little more creative. Do you offer catering services? Can you take it out to them? Can you help them, get it out in front of their client base? Can you do custom stuff? It's all about trying to pivot and understanding where they lie, where they need to grow and how they need to get in front of people. I think products sometimes tend to be a little more challenging because you're like, well, I make this kind of product. I offer this kind of product. Okay. Is that the product that sells the best for you? I don't want you to go and say, I need 100 different types of products because you never know what they're going to buy. I want you to be able to have some good solid product lines or service offerings, but be able to tweak them very easily so you're not recreating the wheel every time. I guarantee you probably have a handful of top product or service offerings within your business that can be easily modified to fit the economic climate, the needs of your client, where, it might have worked great for this client. You're like, hey, if I just change these two tweaks, I can actually make a customized product based on this kind of baseline offering that I have, based on tweaking a couple things. That's where the magic happens. And that's where you can grow your organization pretty well without having to recreate something every single time. Use those base templates that work well with business, that are branded well, that, sell what you need to sell, that you can make quick changes. All right. The other thing that I see habit-wise that businesses do that stunts their growth is operating without priorities. Now, what I mean for this, goals, that's what I'm talking about too. But if you think about your company, however big or small it is, what is your focus? What is your mission? Who do you serve and how do you do it? What I see a lot of companies do and fall short on is that, well, yeah, we want to make we want to make 5 million in sales this year. Okay, that's fine. That's a sales goal. But what is your priority in getting there? What is your focus in getting there? Who on your team is responsible for what role, right? Who's leading the charge? Who's keeping people accountable? How are you measuring up? Are you visiting weekly, monthly, quarterly? What does that mean when those goals aren't met yet? What does your pipeline look like? All those kinds of things. How fast are you able to make decisions, and what parameters are you setting up to make sure those decisions are consistent within your organization? Too many times I see small business owners, because they're small, They might make random decisions. There's no consistency. For one thing, it's not great for your staff to follow a leader that can't make consistent decisions, but it dilutes your focus. You're like, what is our focus? We said our mission is this, but yet the decisions that are getting made aren't aligning with that. You want to make sure that all comes together. And when a question comes up within your organization, whether it's from a product offering, a service offering, a client, a staff, okay, you go back to those core values, you go back to the mission, you're like, this is what we do. I know I struggle sometimes when I have a client come to me and they're like, hey, I have this need. Is this something you can help me with? And I think about it, I'm like, well, technically I could. I do have that skill set. I can offer that type of consulting service or what have you. But then I have to sit down and think about, okay, what is the core value? What are my focus for my company? What is the best use of my time? And I have to think sometimes about like, well, could I do it? Could I charge something for it? Yeah. But is that the best use of my time? Is that the best way to grow my company? What I always like to do when I have to say no to things like that, and I'm glad they asked because it gets my brain thinking in different ways. I love to be able to refer them out to something else. I'm gonna put you in contact with a resource that can help guide you through this, that can help you with that. And that's what I love about the referral side of businesses. And that's something you should be looking towards too. I'm going to take a step back for a second. We talked about assuming the economy might impact your business. Okay, that's when the best time to do that is like not only who are your best clients and who are your top clients to make you the most money and bring you a lot of volume, but who are your best referral resources? So that's another way to continue to grow your business and have that outreach where you're like, hey, this is how we operate. These are the service or products that we offer. Anything outside of that, we refer out. But who? Who are those referral partners? Because conversely, you want those people to refer business to you, right? You stay in your lane. You figure out this is my focus. This is how I operate. And these are my priorities because I know if you can refine it and define it, you'll be able to succeed in business. And lastly, I'm going to use the S word. You avoid sales. Now you're like, no, I don't. I sell stuff. Okay. As the leader of the company, and if you're listening to this, more than likely you're either leading your team, leading the company, or you're a solopreneur. You're doing it all by yourself. Sales should be the core of what you do, hands down. You don't make money. The business doesn't keep the doors open unless you have sales. You're selling your product, you're selling your services. You are having money come into the company. I think it's all too common for us as business owners to get caught in the trap of like, well, I need to strategize. I need to get the spreadsheets together. I need to compile the data. Yeah, you need to do that. But are you spending the bulk of your time doing that? Or are you spending the bulk of your time growing your current customer base and servicing your current customers to grow, what they're all about? Are you getting new clients? Are you marketing? Are you doing all that stuff? I think it's easy to get in the trap where I love my spreadsheets and I love the data. And I can go down a rabbit hole sometimes and spend hours on that. What I've learned over time, though, is I need to make sure and prioritize and dedicate my calendar every week because I need to know what's coming in. I need to build that pipeline. I need to see those results and I need to track it. Because if you can't track it, you don't know where you're going. And I bet it'll surprise you. You might think, hey, we're clipping along pretty good. Things are coming in. Okay, what does next quarter look like? What does the quarter after that look like? What does the end of the year look like? What does next year look like? These are things you all need to be thinking about. I know my sales cycle in my real estate business is 9 months. 9 months from the start to finish. That's a long time. That means we need to have a really healthy pipeline going forward. We don't, and I know in other industries, your timeline to start to close might be days for a week or two. It might be faster, which is awesome. But you also want to have those people as you understand your client's business. Okay, what's coming up for them? Do they have an event coming up this summer that they need to prepare for? They need to buy products for. They need to get services in place. Their annual, fiscal year is different than our calendar year. How can you help prepare them for that as they're coming into their next fiscal year and help setting some goals and be a part of that process? What new items, whether it be products or services, can you add to enhance what they're doing? And how do you prepare for that? How do you roll it out? How do you get buy-in and input? You're asking them for feedback. You're getting testimonials. You're asking your current clients to give you referrals, and you give referrals to them. So it's a two-way street. But sales should be at the core of what you do, and it should take up the bulk of your time. Now, some of you might have an amazing sales team and have been able to hire that. Bravo, that's great. I want you to continue on that trajectory. But how are you encouraging them? How are you leading them? How are you mentoring them? And what part are you playing in that? I bet a lot of you are the rainmakers, and I know I am for my company. I will love it over time to transition more away from that as I level up my team. But at this point in time, I need to have my eye on the ball and focus on sales. So I hope I've given you some 5 habits that hopefully you will stop doing, because I don't want to stunt your business growth. I want you to make your business flourish. So if you learned something today, throw me a note, give me a chat, share this with your friends. And don't forget, I love it when you subscribe, because that way you won't miss an episode of the Small Business Mindset. We'll see you next time.